Surprising blind date reveals incredible connection. CEO's shocking proposal leaves everyone moved. Emma felt like a ghost in her own life, drifting through cubicles as an administrative assistant in a buzz-filled Midwestern city. Each ring of the phone was a reminder of her often dreaded duties, and her parents' relentless reminders echoed in her mind. Do your job well, or risk losing our support? Turning back toward her cramped desk, her focus wavered. A college degree slipped through her fingers like sand, swallowed by societal pressures and familial expectations. As her heart sank under the weight of this ultimatum, the idea of a blind date became just another shackle. She expected nothing but an uncomfortable evening, walking into the chic yet unpretentious eatery. The tantalizing aroma of garlic and fresh herbs wafted over her, a brief distraction from the storm within. Her best friend had insisted this date might stir something inside her, but Emma's apprehensions wrapped tight around her like a noose. When she spotted Alex, he looked like a refreshing anomaly, jeans and a hoodie juxtaposed to her colleagues in tailored suits. But even that couldn't breach her emotional barrier. The unyielding pressure to conform, to please, cast a shadow over any chance of enjoyment. As they exchanged banalities over plates of artisanal pasta, Emma's psychological turmoil intensified. Alex shared his story of leaving a prestigious tech job to create an app to help underprivileged communities. She felt a flicker of something she hadn't experienced in years, a thread of inspiration sparked by his passion. Yet, the nagging doubts lurked behind her smile. Was it smart to let her heart engage in something that could lead to a fork in the road? Her family expected a stable job, not risk and romantic entanglements. Did fostering this connection mean dismantling the limits imposed on her? Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. As the evening deepened, Alex leaned in, his sincerity palpable. What if he proposed we partnered up? Not just in business, but in life too. The words hung in the air, heavy and intoxicating. Emma felt her heart twist as if he'd just unleashed a torrent of colorful fireflies, illuminating her thoughts on families, dreams, and what it meant to truly live. But fear clawed at her ribs. What if she chose this path, grasping for happiness and connection only to find disappointment? Would her family's disapproval become a reality she could not escape? With the chaos of the restaurant swirling around her, and the laughter of nearby tables juxtaposed against the impending weight of a life-altering decision, she faced an inner storm. Could she dare to defy her family's risk-averse mantra, risking it all for something she felt could ignite her stagnant spirit? Just as hope threatened to blossom, her phone buzzed a message from her parents, rehashing their concerns, weighing her down even further. The tension snared Emma, a cacophony of emotions raging within her as she dug her nails into the tablecloth. The world outside continued, obliviously alive, while she sat on the precipice of a choice that could either break her free or cement her in chains. Would she find the courage to say yes to the dream that was slowly weaving itself in the fabric of her heart? Or would she retreat to the familiar shadows of expectation? The silence then echoed like an unfinished song, leaving her breathless and uncertain, desperately fighting against the urge to flee, clinging to the possibilities laid out before her. Emma's heart raced, an erratic drumbeat that drowned out the cheerful hum of the restaurant. She felt the weight of choice pressing against her like a physical force, and her palms slick with moisture gripped the tablecloth with a force born from desperation. Alex's earnest gaze pierced through her veil of indecision, a lighthouse against her overwhelming storm. Partnership, the word echoed in her mind. What would that mean? The concept swirled around her like a tempest, each scenario and consequence cascading into a dizzying array of possibilities. On one hand, there lay the prospect of liberty and escape from the suffocating confines of her current predictable life. On the other, the stark reality of alienation from her family loomed large, a boundary she'd always felt too weak to traverse. What did she even want? The question settled heavily, forcing her to confront the dreams she had buried beneath layers of parental expectations and self-doubt. Inspiration stirred within her, ignited by Alex's motives. From across the table, he seemed to embody the daring spirit she had shelved long ago. Was it possible that by choosing him she might reclaim those parts of herself? Cordial laughter from a nearby table broke into her thoughts. She felt both a yearning and resentment. Why could they be carefree while she was anchored to her choices? A moment shifted, a pivotal juncture in her contemplation. Less than an hour ago, the thought of pursuing her desires felt akin to stepping off a cliff. Now, the drop didn't seem quite so perilous. What if embracing this unexpected connection led not only to a deeper partnership with Alex, but to rediscovering her own agency? Emma? His voice was softer, perhaps aware of the weight hanging between them. She hesitated, her throat tightening. I think I need time to think about this. About everything. His smile faltered, and a fleeting shadow crossed his features, just as the thrill of her emerging independence was curtailed by an unshakable fear. But that's exactly what she needed: time. The world didn't collapse just because she chose to pause. It was in this moment of retreat against the impulsive leap she had almost taken that she could salvage clarity from the confusion she considered her response. Memories slid into focus. Her childhood dreams of traveling, of painting, of being something other than a ghost in someone else's story. Could she integrate those passions into a business venture, one that allowed her to uplift others like Alex? There was something powerful even in the thought of it. Emma. The urgency in her friend's name brought her back. It was Alex again, his hazel eyes now reflecting concern. I respect that, but think about us. Think about your potential. The truth resonated like a clear bell, striking an unfamiliar chord inside her. Perhaps it was time to reclaim her narrative, to braid her hopes and Alex's vision into something neither could achieve alone. The same internal hesitation, however, snatched at her resolve. What if I fail? She could hear her parents' chastising words, an echo warning her of every misstep. The weight of silence turned suffocating as she struggled to reconcile belief in herself with the daunting prospect of disappointment. How could she begin to face her fears if she was too afraid to fully step into her own narrative? Spurred on by a sudden flicker of courage, she looked at Alex, affirmation brimming just beneath the surface. She started to speak, but before she could express herself fully, her phone vibrated once more, this time with a call. Her heart sank. This wasn't just any call. It was her mother. As the screen lit up, illuminating her agonized expression, she felt the gravitational pull of obligation clash with her burgeoning desire for agency. Could she let this moment slip away? In that instant, Emma was caught not just between two paths, but between two versions of herself, one confined by fear, the other daring to reach for her dreams. A choice loomed before her, one that would either send her spiraling back into complacency, or propel her forward into an uncertain, thrilling future. The air around her felt charged, vibrating with potential, as anticipation wrapped around her mind. This was the moment she had been waiting for. It was now or never. Alex, I need to. The call was still ringing, tugging at her awareness. Her next words could shape everything, but would she find the strength to let her voice break free from the confines of doubt? Or would she let her family pull her back into the shadows? In the silence that followed, Emma felt destiny hang precariously in the balance, waiting for her to make a choice. Emma's gaze lingered on her phone, the persistent buzzing vibrating through her resolve. It was more than a call. It was a tether to her past, a past she had desperately wanted to escape. But rather than surrender to fear and familial expectations, she felt a rising tide of defiance. Maybe I will fail, she thought, the realization reverberating in her mind like a mantra. But what if I don't? This sliver of rebellion ignited something within her, a spark that reminded her of her long-forgotten aspirations. Emma leaned forward, her breath catching in her throat as tentative confidence replaced anguish. Alex, she said, voice steadier than she felt. I need to take this call. Alex nodded, a shadow of disappointment flickering across his face, yet understanding glimmered in his eyes. He leaned back but remained close, a silent supporter. As she swiped to answer her mother's call, The world around her faded momentarily, a stark contrast to the internal storm brewing within. "Hi, Mom," she managed, feeling a knot form in her chest. "Emma, sweetheart." Her mother's voice flowed through, sweet yet laced with urgency. "I heard from Paula that you might be considering changes. We need to talk. Your future is at stake." The weight of expectation settled heavily on her shoulders. But instead of crumbling under pressure, a newfound determination unfurled in her mind. "Mom, I am considering changes. I want to chart my own course. I can't live my life just to meet your expectations anymore," she asserted, each word punctuating the air like a declaration. Silence met her proclamation, surprise evident across the miles. Yet, instead of retreating, she pressed on. "I'm exploring opportunities that align with my passions. I want to run a business that reflects who I really am." "Emma, this is disheartening. You're throwing everything away. Don't be foolish, think of your responsibilities." Her mother's response came quickly, defensive and instinctual, veering away from reason. "No, Mom," Emma interrupted, her own voice rising with clarity. "It's time I thought of myself. All my life I've been told how to live, how to behave. But what about what I want?" The words hung in the air like an unbreachable wall as her mother seemed to search for a rebuttal. But Emma felt something pivotal shift. For the first time, she was navigating a conversation not as a daughter desperate for approval, but as an individual seeking her truth. After a brief, unsteady silence, her mother spoke again, voice softer, as if both begrudgingly and helplessly aware of Emma's autonomy. "We just want what's best for you. And I appreciate that," Emma replied, finding composure. "But this is my life. I need to find out what's best for me." As she ended the call, a rush of exhilaration coursed through her veins. The constricting grip of her family's opinions no longer held power over her. She could feel the world expanding, possibilities opening like petals. "I chose to stand my ground," she whispered, her eyes returning to Alex. His expression was one of muted surprise mixed with admiration. "I did it. And what do you feel?" he asked, canting his head slightly as he leaned toward her, the sincerity in his question dissolving the anxious facade that had clouded her thoughts. "I feel free," she stated plainly. "I want to move forward, but I still have no idea what that looks like." A shadow of doubt crept back in, but it was offset by the burgeoning excitement at the thought of possibilities. "Then let us explore it together," Alex suggested, his enthusiasm infusing the moment with palpable energy. With new commitment surfacing, a plan began to form in Emma's mind, a mixture of business concepts rife with potential and a vision for the ventures she could create. There was still work to be done: market research, defining her role, structuring her project, but this was the first step. As Emma cradled that vision close, the waiter approached with a coffee. It felt like a small celebration, a moment to augment her resolve. She took a deep breath, savoring the warm aroma, grounding herself. But as she lifted her cup to take a sip, the clattering of metal against ceramic jolted her focus. The waiter had shifted his eyes over Emma's shoulder, expression suddenly serious. "Excuse me, miss?" he addressed her with urgency. "There's someone here to see you." Emma turned instinctively, anxiety gnawing at her. Who could it be? Her heart raced in rhythm with the uncertainty. Each tick of the clock ticked away as she felt the residual thrill of her newly minted agency collide with trepidation. "Alex," she murmured, confusion creeping back in as anticipation gripped her. "What now?" The door swung open to reveal a figure she never expected, but had always dreaded, a ghost from her past, ushering in a confrontation she hadn't anticipated. Emma felt her breath hitch, the tension in the air shifting once more as she prepared to face whatever awaited her. "I have to get ahead of this," she thought, a flood of determination surging through her. Would this intrusion provoke her, or would it be the catalyst she needed to reclaim her path entirely? The stakes had risen, and she poised herself for whatever seismic shift awaited her. The threshold had been crossed, and Emma knew there was no turning back. Emma's heart hammered in her chest, the figure before her a silhouette of the past disrupting her moment of newfound freedom. She blinked, focusing hard to dispel any fog of disbelief. It was Clara, her former business partner, the one who had walked out, taking the dreams they had spun together with her, leaving Emma to sift through the remnants of abandoned ambition. "Emma," Clara said, her voice laced with an unfamiliar mixture of determination and regret. "I didn't expect to find you here. What do you want?" Emma managed, fighting to keep the tremors of anxiety from overwhelming the burgeoning confidence she had just cultivated. Clara stepped into the light of the cafe, her presence both daunting and oddly familiar. "I came back to apologize," she said, her eyes searching Emma's face for understanding. "For everything. For leaving without a word. I thought I was making a smart decision, but I realize now what I gave up." The air between them thickened with unresolved tension and lost potential. Emma felt her pulse race not solely from confrontation but from the flickers of resentment intertwined with curiosity. Had Clara truly changed? What was so urgent that she sought Emma out? "Why now?" Emma inquired, sardonic defensiveness creeping into her voice. "You didn't seem to care back then." "I know, and that's what I'm trying to mend," Clara replied, her tone softer, stripped of previous bravado. "I'm here because I believe we can still do something together. I saw your recent posts on social media. It's clear you're pursuing your passion. I want to be a part of it." Emma's guarded heart hesitated, dwelling on the ambivalence of potential collaboration. Hadn't Clara's actions once felt like betrayal? Now, the prospect of partnership flickered as a possible catalyst for growth. Yet, Emma couldn't shake off the pangs of doubt. Trust, once shattered, was not easily rebuilt. "What do you bring to the table now?" Emma challenged, lifting her chin, grounding herself in authority she had just claimed. "You abandoned us, and it's a little late to come back," flowered with apologies. "I understand that," Clara conceded, the warmth of her eyes tempered by sincerity. "But I have experienced now insights I didn't have before. My new company is thriving, and I want to combine what I've learned with your vision. We could create something impactful." Emma was aware of the flame of opportunity that Clara represented, yet she felt herself slipping back into old patterns of self-doubt. Could she trust Clara again? Could she even stand to work beside someone who had left her in the lurch? As if sensing her inner turmoil, Alex, ever the supportive presence, leaned in. "This could be an unexpected chance for you, Emma. But make sure it's on your terms," he whispered. His voice held a sense of grounding that reminded her of the power she had claimed moments ago. Taking a steadier breath, she said, "I'll consider it. But understand this. If we are to partner, the dynamics from before cannot repeat. I need full transparency and respect." Clara nodded, a flicker of relief crossing her face. "I can promise you that. This time, I'm in it with a clear mind and heart. I won't let you down again." Despite Emma's instincts cautioning her against diving back into familiar unknowns, a part of her saw the potential. Rebuilding not only her business ambitions but also a relationship once fraught with contention could forge deeper growth. As she let Clara's words settle, a deeper question churned inside her. What kind of leader would she become in this partnership? Could past wounds be healed, forging an alliance powerful enough to reshape their destinies? Emma felt the weight of her choices envelop her, but also the thrill of strategy unfolding. With a shared vision, could this unexpected reunion yield something extraordinary? "Let us discuss this further," Emma decided, feeling both apprehensive and intrigued. But as Clara began to outline her ideas, a familiar jarring sensation interrupted them. The phone that had once subdued her was now buzzing insistently on the table, demanding attention and cutting through the charged atmosphere. Emma glanced at it, pulse racing as she noticed a name she had thought she'd left behind. "Who is it?" Clara asked, her curiosity piqued. Emma hesitated, anxiety clawing back at her resolve. Would this disrupt the fragile opportunity she'd just opened? "I need to take this," Emma said, her heart sinking momentarily at the prospect of more complications. As she swiped to answer, she felt the storm of her past and present collide, setting the stage for a tumultuous yet transformative chapter that awaited her. "Let us see what unfolds next," she thought, steeling herself for yet another confrontation that might hold the keys to her future, both personal and professional. Emma's hand shook slightly as she brought the phone to her ear, her mind racing with the consequences that could arise from this unexpected call. The familiar voice on the other end, though persistent, felt as foreign as a distant echo. It belonged to Richard, her previous investor, the man who had once promised to carry her dreams to heights she had never imagined, only to withdraw his support in her darkest moments. "Emma, I didn't expect to reach you." Richard's voice crackled with the static of urgency. "Are you free for a lunch meeting? I need to discuss an opportunity that I believe is right up your alley. Could be beneficial for both of us." The tension in her shoulders tightened, and she stole a glance at Clara. A silent reminder of everything that had transpired between them flickered in the background, battling for her attention. Could she afford to entertain Richard now, especially while she was at this crossroads with Clara? "Right now?" Emma replied, her tone revealing just a hint of skepticism. "What's the rush? It's a project that could change your trajectory. I've been following your progress on social media. I'm impressed," Richard continued, his charm wrapping around her words like silk, but tinged with the unmistakable scent of manipulation she'd once fallen for. "You deserve a second chance. Let me show you how." Her pulse quickened again, not from excitement but from the weight of her choices. Emma glanced at Alex, who raised an eyebrow with cautious encouragement. He could sense the intensity of the moment, two powerful figures vying for her attention and influence. "I'll think about it," Emma replied, her voice steadier than she felt. She ended the call, her breath catching as the implications washed over her. She wasn't just indecisive. She was caught in a tug-of-war between two legacies, two possible futures that threatened to pull her apart. Clara regarded her with curiosity and concern. "Was that Richard? I thought you'd cut ties with him." "It's complicated." Emma felt a swell of defensiveness. "But there's something he mentioned that could be worth exploring, and I need to be smart about it." "Smart?" Clara echoed, the weight of their shared history lacing her words. "That's the goal here, right? To build something better together? But are you prepared to take two paths at the same time? You may end up too stretched thin." Emma felt the urgency beneath Clara's doubt, yet it echoed her own fear. Could she juggle both opportunities? Her mind raced as she calculated risks, weighing the foundations of her progress against the potential chaos these new avenues might bring. "Maybe you should take a pause to fully consider this," Clara suggested, her eyes narrowing thoughtfully. "Look, I know I don't have the right to give you advice. You've come a long way on your own. But it seems like you're at a pivotal moment. You don't want to flounder simply because of someone else's past expectations." Emma studied Clara's face, the myriad of emotions unfurling in the delicate spaces between them. There was an authenticity in Clara's concern, an unexpected ally underneath the remnants of betrayal. Could she trust that sincerity? Deciding on a course of action was imperative. She could not let external voices drown out her instincts. "Maybe I do need to find clarity before rushing into anything. I thought returning to collaboration would be my salvation, but I'm realizing it may come with a price." She took a moment, hurrying through her thoughts, evaluating her own motivations. What did she want out of this partnership? Was she seeking validation or true growth? Humbled by the complexity, Emma understood that she needed to reclaim her narrative rather than be swept away by the currents of influence from Clara, from Richard, or anyone else. "Let us sharpen our objectives," Emma announced with a new spark of ambition igniting within her. "Before I dive into this again, I want to lay out a strategy, what strengths we each bring, what risks we're willing to take. We need transparency, not veiled intentions." Clara nodded, her demeanor shifting to that of an eager collaborator, energized by Emma's newfound resolve. "Absolutely," she replied, her eyes brightening. "This time, let us lay it all on the table." As they began their discussion, Emma felt the tension bubbling in her chest dissipate slowly, replaced by a potent mix of determination and curiosity. The path ahead might not be entirely clear, but it was hers to forge, piece by piece. Amidst all the external distractions, the greatest dependency lay within her, igniting a deep sense of responsibility for crafting her future. Just then, a notification popped up on Emma's phone, a message from Richard, urging her not to forget their lunch. As she glanced at it, another notification flashed across the screen, igniting her heartbeat again. It was from a figure she could never have anticipated, an influential mentor from her past she had hoped would never resurface. Her heart raced with trepidation. The convergence of her past, present, and potential futures lay before her like a kaleidoscope of choices, and now, she had to decide where to focus her energy. Emma pondered her next move, aware that this was merely the beginning of a riveting chapter waiting to unfold. Would she confront the implications of both paths and emerge transformed, or would she let the tides of influence sweep her away once more? Emma sat at her desk, her phone buzzing again like a persistent reminder of unfinished business. Richard was waiting, but the message from her mentor pulled at her thoughts like an anchor, keeping her from sailing toward either opportunity just yet. The mix of anticipation and dread flooded her mind. She had fought so hard to regain her footing. Now she stood at a precipice. Who was the second message from? Clara inquired, her curiosity matching Emma's internal conflict. Just someone I thought I'd left behind, Emma replied, trying to mask the quiver in her voice with nonchalance. But Clara could read her. Someone important? Clara arched an eyebrow, leaning in closer. The unspoken energy between them crackled with implications like the taut string of a bow ready to release its arrow. More like someone who had a different vision for my future. Emma took a deep breath. The weight of unchosen paths bore down on her shoulders. She glanced at Clara, realizing that the fears she held mirrored the worries in the other woman's eyes. Maybe now is the time to weigh every possible influence in your decision-making, Clara suggested, her voice low and measured. Influence, Emma echoed, the word tumbling over her as if she was chewing on its bitterness. Is that all this is? Another game of manipulation? No, Clara countered, her tone growing more assertive. It's about empowerment. It's about knowing what you want and claiming that for yourself. But being aware of every factor, every person who could redirect that pursuit. Emma leaned back in her chair, chest tightening as she contemplated Clara's words. This was a learning moment, not just for their professional endeavors but for her character. What did she truly want from either opportunity, and what parts of her past would she allow to dictate her future? In the midst of this contemplation, an involuntary memory flickered to life. She recalled her mentor's unwavering encouragement through her struggles and the lessons learned about resilience and independence. Though they parted ways under strained circumstances, he had once believed in her vision as much as she did. She had seen potential where others had seen flaws. Could she now allow that same energy to fuel her own comeback from the ashes of doubt? With newfound fervor, Emma grabbed a notebook, ready to outline her thoughts. She divided a page into 2 columns, Richard and mentor. In truth, the decision wasn't just about choosing one over the other. It was about reclaiming an identity that had been blurred by the opinions of those around her. Let us just break this down, she said firmly, surprising even herself with her clarity. What do I want? A project with potential or a reunion with someone who knows my worth? Clara watched, impressed. The flicker of determination in Emma's eyes ignited an enthusiasm that felt transformative. As Emma began jotting down details, her reservations about Richard, her hopes regarding her mentor, she discovered the truths buried beneath layers of emotional debris. She had been so afraid of the implications that she'd almost lost sight of her own values and dreams. The gallery she envisioned would require strength, focus, creativity, and perhaps most importantly, a selection of collaborators who walked alongside her, not in front of her. Time slipped away as the 2 women lost themselves in brainstorming. The walls of Emma's doubt began to dissolve, revealing a landscape of opportunities she hadn't considered. By the time Emma put her pen down, exhilaration surged through her. The tension she had felt earlier transformed into a potent optimism as she looked up. A new notification flashed on her phone again. This time, it was a video call request from her mentor. The familiar tickle of nervousness skated down her spine around the potential of his call. The surface of their past was about to be probed again. What if he wants to discuss working together? Clara whispered, eyes wide with anticipation. What if he thinks I'm still the same person I used to be? Emma countered, the fear creeping back in. In that moment, she understood. This instant was a test not just of her professional capability but of who she had become since their last interaction. Resolute, she set her jaw. The time had come to confront her past, to redefine her narrative before letting it define her. Whatever lay ahead, Emma had to seize this moment as her own. No more compromises. No more hiding. She took a deep breath, hitting the accept button on the call. And as the screen lit up, she realized she was more ready for this conversation than she had permitted herself to believe. Was this the moment of truth where she would finally lay all her cards on the table, or would her mentor challenge her vision in unexpected ways? Emma braced herself for the dialogue that would surely follow. As the screen illuminated, Emma was greeted with the familiar face of her mentor, the slight smile on his lips quickly fading into a mask of professional curiosity. "Emma, it's good to see you," he said, his voice steady, but a hint of hesitation lingered in the air, as if he was sizing up the uncharted territory of their renewed relationship. "You too," she replied, her voice more confident than she felt. A whirlwind of emotions surged through her: excitement, caution, and a tinge of resentment from old wounds. She could feel Clara's encouraging gaze upon her from the sidelines, urging her to step into this moment fully prepared. "Let us get straight to it. I've been extending my network, and I'd love to collaborate with you on a project," he started, each word dropping like a stone, intensifying the tension in the air. Emma's heart raced, but now wasn't the time for doubt. It was time to vocalize what her journey had taught her and what had once scared her. "I appreciate that, but I have some reservations," she responded, recalibrating her thoughts as she spoke. "The last time we worked together, I ended up feeling sidelined. I need this to be a true partnership, collaborative and equitable." He leaned back in his chair, his brow furrowing slightly at her honesty. Their previous interactions had always been marked by a power dynamic that heavily favored him, while she was often relegated to an eager learner. "I understand. I should have been more open to your ideas, and I see that now. But this can be different. We can reshape our collaboration," he offered, his tone pleading yet earnest. Emma took a moment, wrestling with the conflicting impulses within her. On one hand, the temptation to return to familiar patterns lunged forward. However, the strides she had made in the past year screamed for her to seize this opportunity not just as a means to escape her past, but to carve a new path. "What exactly do you envision?" she probed, scanning for the clues that would inform her decision. His explanation flowed forth, outlining a series of ambitious plans that set her mind racing: an exhibit that focused on redefining contemporary art through inclusivity and the exploration of marginalized stories. As her mentor immersed himself in the details, Emma could envision every element aligning with her ideas. Yet within that vision lurked a question that pricked at her self-awareness. Was this still his dream, or could this venture also encapsulate her aspirations? "Can we bring in voices that are often unheard?" Emma asked, her resolve solidifying in the face of potential compromise. "This project can't just reflect your vision. It must also reflect the stories that need to be told. I want contributions from artists who redefine what art can be, not just what it has been." Her mentor absorbed her words, a flicker of realization flashing across his face. This wasn't just a request. It was a demand for agency, a clear declaration of her evolving priorities. "Absolutely, Emma. That's a powerful direction," he conceded, the admiration surfacing in his demeanor. "But I need to know, are you willing to open the table for discussions? I won't simply be implementing your ideas. I want us to co-create," she pressed further, each word a thrust forward, a reaffirmation of her newfound confidence. The seconds stretched, and Emma couldn't help but feel the remnants of old patterns trying to weave back in fear of rejection, of disappointing someone she once admired immensely. But as she steadied her breathing, Clara's words echoed in her mind. Empowerment was about knowing what she wanted and holding the line. "Then we will co-create together," he finally said, a slight smile returning to his face, but Emma sensed the weight of their conversation had shifted. This wasn't just about a project anymore. It was about two people poised at the intersection of past grievances and future possibilities. As they concluded their call, Emma felt exhilarated. It was a step into uncharted waters, demanding respect and reciprocity. The anticipation of future meetings to solidify their plans ignited a flame of hope in her chest. Yet just as she felt the euphoria of empowerment wash over her, the doubts flickered in the periphery. What if their collaboration stirred past insecurities? Would her mentor revert to old patterns? Was she truly prepared to assert herself? Emma took a deep breath, reminding herself how far she had come. The path ahead was unwritten, filled with both potential and pitfalls. She had to stay vigilant, ready for the next moment that would challenge her resolve. With newfound clarity, she turned her gaze to the untouched notebook on her desk. Thoughts began to take shape, her vision for the project crystallizing into tangible steps. The conversation with her mentor had opened doors, but navigating through them would be the true test as she dug into her notes, preparing to define her next moves. A new message pinged on her phone, this time from Richard. Emma's heart raced, conflicting emotions pulling her in different directions. Would he readjust her trajectory, or would he demand she divert her path once again? With every intention steeled in her mind, Emma braced for the decision ahead, knowing it could either secure her autonomy or ensnare her in old patterns once more. Emma stared at her phone, her pulse quickening at the sight of Richard's name flashing across the screen. She hesitated, her fingers hovering over the screen. Richard had always been the wild card, unpredictable and compelling. The last thing she needed now was a disruption, but curiosity tugged at her. The message read, "Can we talk? I have an exciting opportunity for you that I think aligns perfectly with your recent trajectory." A chance? She muttered under her breath, grappling with unease. Richard had an uncanny ability to charm people into projects they later regretted. Yet, her intuition echoed the lessons she'd been learning. She had the power to dictate the course. With a deep breath, she decided to respond. "Sure, I'm open to discussing it. When and where?" An immediate reply came through. "How about tomorrow at 10 a.m.? Coffee at the usual place?" She frowned, that familiar cafe still haunting her with memories of past disappointments. But she felt the thrill of possibility pushing her forward. "Sounds good," she typed back, then breathed out slowly, regaining her composure. Reflecting on her call with her mentor, a wave of confidence coursed through her once more. This time, Richard would not dictate the terms of their engagement. Her afternoon melded into a blend of anticipation and introspection as she prepared for her meeting with her mentor. She scribbled down a list of points she wanted to bring up, ensuring each idea was infused with her voice and vision. As the clock neared 10 a.m. the following day, she walked into the familiar cafe, the scent of roasted coffee beans enveloping her. Richard was seated at a corner table, his easy grin boosting her confidence. They exchanged pleasantries and, without wasting time, he began outlining his proposal, his colorful descriptions pulling her into his vision. "We're launching a new initiative aimed at uplifting emerging talents in the arts. I want you to be at the forefront, curating the selection," he enthused. "With your recent experience, this could be a game changer." Emma's excitement flickered alongside a shadow of doubt. It seemed too good to be true, almost predatory in its allure. "What is your objective with this initiative?" she challenged, testing the waters. Richard paused, mischief dancing in his eyes. "To make a splash, of course. But more importantly, to disrupt the traditional art scene." He leaned closer. "And I want you there guiding it. This is a chance to redefine what success looks like in our industry." Emma felt the weight of his proposal push against her resolve. The offer was enticing, a heady option to explore, yet it felt intertwined with strings she couldn't quite see. Was Richard simply looking for a collaborator, or piecing together his ambitions atop her untested foundations? "Yes, but at what cost?" she inquired, her mind racing. "What's your vision for collaboration? I need assurance this isn't just about escalating your profile." For a fleeting moment, the bravado slipped from his demeanor. "Collaboration isn't my strong suit," he admitted candidly. "But you can fill that void. I believe you can create something extraordinary with my resources." Emma studied him, weighing his vulnerability against the relentless nature she had long witnessed. Then allow me to define the parameters. This initiative can't just be a launchpad for you. It must elevate the artists we work with. Richard's brow furrowed, but he nodded appreciatively. Leveraging your perspective could enhance this project significantly. I need your tenacity. As the conversation deepened, Emma felt layers of her old self peel away, revealing a renewed sense of authenticity. This wasn't about falling back into old patterns. It was about building alliances based on mutual respect and sheer talent. By the time they wrapped up, she had accepted an initial role in the initiative, with conditions set firmly in place regarding her involvement. It felt right, yet the lingering shadows of doubt accompanied her as she stepped out into the crisp morning air, with the adrenaline still coursing through her. Her instinctive thrill of empowerment mingled with apprehension. How would Richard react when faced with the limitations she had enforced? Would he respect her assertiveness? Or would the predator behind his charming smile reemerge, eager to reclaim power? As she walked away, her phone buzzed yet again with another message from her mentor. The juxtaposition of her newfound ambitions weighed heavily on her mind. At the crux of two divergent paths, she found strength in her decision, yet a gnawing unease lodged itself in her chest. What awaited her on this untangling road? With anticipation and uncertainty colliding, she opened the message. Emma, can we discuss the project further? There's something important I need to share. The moment had arrived that could redefine everything she had just set into motion. Would she seize the opportunity or allow her past to echo forward, potentially unraveling her dreams? Emma's hands trembled slightly as she read the message from her mentor. The tone was cryptic yet urgent, suggesting a depth that couldn't be ignored. She quickly made her way to the office, the familiar halls now feeling like a testing ground for her resolve. What did her mentor want to discuss? Each step heightened her anticipation and anxiety. Upon entering her mentor's office, she was greeted with a warm smile, but the gravity in his eyes made her pulse quicken anew. He gestured for her to sit, and she obliged, forcing her racing heart to steady. I received your updates about the initiative with Richard, he began, his voice steady yet laced with concern. Honestly, it sounds like a significant leap forward for you. But I need to share some insights that might change your perspective. Emma leaned in, sensing the complexity of what was to come. As her mentor unfolded his thoughts, she realized the undercurrents of the art world ran deeper than she had previously grasped. Richard is a talented individual, there's no doubt, he said slowly, but every opportunity comes with shadows. His projects often leave a trail of artists who feel used rather than elevated. You must be aware of this risk, Emma. She contemplated his words, aware they stemmed from experience rather than mere speculation. Could she genuinely trust Richard's intentions? I appreciate your honesty, she replied, the weight of her earlier decision pressing upon her. But I also want to believe this could be different. I have set my terms, and I intend to hold my ground. Her mentor nodded, clearly impressed by her determination. That's crucial. Establishing boundaries will be imperative in this partnership. He leaned back, searching her eyes. But remember, sometimes the cost of seizing an opportunity is more significant than the immediate benefit. Be mindful of your intrinsic motivations. Emma's heart raced at the thought of falling back into old patterns, letting ambition sway her judgment. She needed to harness this opportunity without losing herself. What if I challenge myself to redefine success within this project? She proposed, feeling the flickers of empowerment reignite within her. What if I can curate the artists not just based on their talent, but their stories and resilience? Her mentor leaned forward, enthusiasm glimmering in his eyes. Now that's the spirit. Curating with intention can transform the landscape. But it means you will need to remain vigilant. Align yourself with artists whose visions resonate with your values, and don't shy from acting when red flags arise. The discussion shifted, opening pathways of thought she hadn't considered. They delved deeper into trust, authenticity, and self-awareness, elements integral to her journey. As the conversation wound down, an optimistic clarity washed over her, juxtaposed against the lingering uncertainty surrounding Richard. Stepping back into the bustling streets afterwards, Emma felt illuminated by newfound strategies for maneuvering through the complexities ahead. The doubts that had plagued her moments before started to fade, replaced instead by a landscape filled with potential. It was the stepping stone she had yearned for, but one she now recognized would demand her vigilance and authenticity. On her way home, a deep-seated determination surged within her. She would not only step into this arena but would do so armed with her own values and aspirations. However, the specter of Richard's unpredictable nature loomed large, whispering doubts into her newfound resolve. As she unlocked her apartment door, her phone buzzed once more. A notification appeared, a message from Richard. "Let us meet again soon. I want to solidify our vision moving forward." Her stomach dropped. The timing felt too soon, too intimate. Could she manage the negotiation as she cautiously stepped into a partnership? Would her hard boundaries withstand the pressure he might exert? A swell of excitement intertwined with dread resonated within her. Emma understood that the real challenge was just beginning, one that required not just professional acumen but an unshakable sense of self amidst the winds of ambition and uncertainty that pushed against her. Standing in her doorway, she gripped her phone tightly, contemplating her next move. Her journey was on the verge of a critical confrontation, one that would test her resolve in ways she had yet to fathom. Would she boldly embrace this growing opportunity or retreat into self-doubt, relinquishing the autonomy she fought so fiercely to claim? Emma stood at the brink of her transformation, a force of empowered determination surging through her. The last few weeks had been a whirlwind, and now, finally, clarity emerged from the chaos. She had taken her fair share of risks, differing from the confines of her past, and now, a significant opportunity awaited her, one that integrated her aspirations with the vulnerabilities she had discreetly laid bare. The cafe where she had met Richard was buzzing with activity, the aroma of freshly brewed coffee triggering a sensory reminder of how far she had come. As she prepared to meet Richard again, she felt a mix of excitement and apprehension. The weight of expectations wasn't simply from him. It was a weight she had carried from family, peers, and former ghosts haunting her thoughts. Yet today she entered armed with newfound conviction. Walking into the cafe, her eyes locked onto Richard's familiar figure. His charm still had that magnetic effect, but she was no longer the passive participant swayed by his charisma. "Emma, I'm glad you could make it," he exclaimed, his tone buoyant, yet she noticed a slight hesitation beneath the surface. "Thanks for having me. I believe it's time we nail down the specifics," she responded, her voice steady, projecting an air of assertiveness that felt exhilarating. She was here to collaborate, but on her terms. As the conversation unfurled, she laid her conditions on the table. She wanted transparency and respect, promising to co-create rather than merely execute his ideas. Richard's initial enthusiasm remained apparent as he scripted a vision filled with excitement and ambition. Yet Emma remained keenly aware of the underlying currents, the predatory nature that had often marred their previous interaction. Collaboration means both sides must be vulnerable, she asserted, a thread of confidence interwoven with her words. "We have to let our creative instincts and values guide this project." Richard leaned back, his expression shifting as he processed her words. "I can support that, but you need to align your vision with the market. We can't lose sight of profit margins," he cautioned, a hint of that familiar calculative edge creeping back in. "Profit is important, but it shouldn't be the only metric we value," Emma corrected, her voice rising with strength. "If we center the narratives of the artists, we elevate the entire shooting star of the initiative, not just the top layer." The atmosphere thickened, tension dancing around them. Richard's expression flickered, and for a moment, Emma felt the push and pull of what she had once feared. Would she let him steer the ship, or would she find her footing and navigate her course despite external pressures? After several rounds of negotiation and detail sharing, the conversation finally flowed towards a palpable agreement. "You've got grit, Emma. I respect that," Richard conceded. "Let us make this work." A swell of achievement washed over Emma as she shook hands, feeling the initial step forward solidified. She was no longer an accessory to someone else's narrative. She was co-authoring a story that echoed her vision, along with a few hiccups and hesitations yet to address. Walking home, Emma embraced the pride coursing through her veins amid the vibrant tapestry of life around her. The city buzzed with voices, laughter, and possibilities the kind she once thought unattainable. In each step, she felt the remnants of doubt dissipate, replaced by a rising confidence and clarity in who she had become, a conscious creator of her path. Weeks passed, and Emma continued forging ahead, hosting meetings with artists, nurturing relationships with emerging talents, and positioning their stories at the heart of the initiative. Each moment solidified her independence. She even initiated dialogue on a dedicated platform for underprivileged artists, ensuring marginalized voices received their deserved spotlight. Then came the day of their project launch, where Emma stood before an audience that had gathered to witness the culmination of her hard work. The gallery felt alive, resplendent with art that told stories of struggle, triumph, and resilience. As attendees mingled and admiration flowed towards her vision, Emma drew a deep breath, soaking in the moment. She caught sight of Richard in the corner, engaging with attendees, but this time with musical applause surrounding her rather than the haunting din of uncertainty. The bond formed through labor and efforts now hummed with respect and collaboration. Each piece exhibited showcased not only the artist's creativity but also the clarity Emma had carved from the jagged edges of her past. Emma became a figure of empowerment, leading others to find their own narratives amidst whispers of doubt. In this moment, surrounded by encouragement and triumph, Emma smiled. She had forged her path, never retreating back to the shadows, but instead stepping into the light with courage and compassion. She had achieved personal fulfillment, becoming not only a leader but also a compass for others aspiring to shape their narratives. With gratitude, pride, and confidence, Emma looked beyond the gallery, seeing not just her past but a future glimmering with infinite potential. Now, this is your moment to embrace transformation. Subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive emotional stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm. The power lies in your hands. Comment your reactions and theories about the ending. Let your voice be heard. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this powerful conclusion. You need to take action. The path of personal overcoming starts with you. Don't wait even one more second to share.